Welcome. This, session number 8, begins where we left off in session 7, of course. As discussed earlier, the teachings in previous times were given to the people of a particular society or country. The people of that society have had a tendency to follow these teachings to the exclusion of teachings given to those in other societies. God's teachings were often somewhat different from one culture or society to another. There were always reasons why the teachings for one people or culture were a bit different from the teachings given to another people, society, or culture. Excuse me. One of the reasons for those differences was the fact that the instructions came at significantly different times in our history and prehistory, and therefore at different times in the development of humankind, the development and the understanding of humankind. As our ability to understand increased, so too did God's message change to incorporate higher truths. Another reason was the fact that traditions were different from one society of people to another. Obviously, cultures, languages, and therefore terms and names were also different from one society of people to another. If you stop and think about it, I'm certain that you would agree with me when I say that there were and are undoubtedly many additional reasons which humankind may never know, or if they do come to know, they might be unlikely to understand. I've pointed out only a few for you here. As time has passed and men have explored and traveled the world, these peoples, societies, and cultures have come into contact with each other. The level of contact has increased over the centuries through many millennia, and with modern communications capability, we're now able to communicate with another person virtually anywhere on the planet. With all these changes taking place, we've all become a bit more familiar with the cultures of the people in faraway places. We have even been able to study their religions. Even though almost everything else has changed, however, we find that people's religious beliefs have become more and more solidified, more and more set in stone, with almost no willingness or flexibility to concede that the religious beliefs held by someone far away could be just as beneficial to that particular person and to that particular culture and its people, for the time it was given to them, as our religious beliefs are to us. Excuse me. It's well known that many of the world's religious beliefs are very ancient in their origins, but as I have stated, God has, over millennia, sent His messengers with a more perfect message, as humankind has become ready or has need for a higher level of teachings. This was shown to be true when the teachings of Moses were followed by those of Jesus. The Judeo-Christian Bible tells us that if the first covenant had been perfect, there would have been no need for another covenant to follow it. I will tell you now that this is true of each covenant that God has made with humankind, because as our ability to understand grows and becomes more perfect, so too do His messages to us become more perfect in order to further and increase our understanding and our level of spirituality. Excuse me. People of many religions today often speak of the unchanging Word of God. I know that this is especially true in the Christian beliefs, even though it was shown to be wrong by Jesus Himself when He quoted several instances in the teaching of Moses which He, Jesus, then made more perfect. He did this by stating, "You have been taught thus, but I say unto you thus." And He did that several times. The point that I am making is that we, humankind, have taken the teachings that have been given to us as different peoples, societies, and cultures, and over the years we've made them so inflexible, so structured, so rigid, that they're unable to expand and grow to reflect the greater understanding that so many of us are now beginning to experience. You should not misunderstand here and get the impression that I'm saying that no matter what we do or how we live, it won't matter. I tell you truly that it does matter, and it matters a great deal. Remember that as we sow, so shall we reap. But if we sow only intolerance, anger, hatred, and lack of compassion, These things will follow us every step of the way as we walk through this life, and perhaps the next. Too often we find that within the faiths and beliefs of the world, some believers have separated and splintered and broken away, one from another, so many times that their teachings no longer, in many cases, even resemble the original teachings which God so graciously gave. There are usually a great many in each faith and each belief who are so certain that they're right in their beliefs, and that all those with other beliefs are wrong, are sinners, and are therefore going to everlasting hell. God never intended that such intolerance should be the way of things, or even worse, that we should kill those who do not have our beliefs, or who disparage our beliefs. These are the things that much of humanity is doing to its own brothers in today's world. Despite this fact, there are nevertheless many who are ready, and many who are approaching readiness to receive the next level of God's teachings. And once again, God is sending His messenger to bring to humankind, in ever-increasing numbers, His more perfect message, and the higher understanding that this message will bring. I hope that those of you who are ready will open your minds and hearts to prepare to receive the teachings that will come when this messenger begins the work of delivering God's message. Many are not and will not be ready, but this has been true each time in the past also, and will be true once again, sadly. Understandably, there are many who are very unreceptive to the idea that they could someday be blessed again by God in a similar manner to that which was given to them in the past. And they may strongly believe that there will be no further teachers or avatars sent by God to their particular people. Perhaps it would surprise you to know that they're right. Because of recent changes in the technology of electronics and communications, a time has now come when our world is such that its people communicate in ways that have never before been possible. As a result, countries and societies have now begun to look at trade and other aspects of life from a more global point of view. Now, the individual people of these countries, however, do not generally see themselves or others as belonging to or being a part of a world or a global or a planetary community. Excuse me. Even though God has always looked at the people of this planet from His special vantage point as all belonging, in one sense, to one family, because we are all His children, the children of His family, and therefore brothers and sisters to one another. In that sense, we are all one. We are all part of humankind. There is further reference to this under the heading of science in that session. We've been allowed to separate ourselves by wars and other failings because we're agents of free will. But God has not differentiated between human spirits simply because they're from different countries. The bodies may be different because we can learn certain lessons more easily when we incarnate in a body of one type or color instead of another. The spirit, however, is always in God's image. These are some of the many different reasons why, as indicated earlier, that those people of some religions are correct in their belief that God will not once again send to their particular people or society another great avatar or teacher. The specific reasons why that they are, or the specific reason rather, why they're right about this is because the time has now come when there will soon appear on the world scene a person not sent to this country or that, or to this society or that, but to the entire world, to all the people on this planet, and to all its people, the world and all its people. This person is God's messenger to the world for the Aquarian Age. It is the speaker's understanding that with the possible exception of one or two people, probably the parents of this messenger, no one knows who the person is, and without question it's certain that no one at all knows just where or precisely when this person will come forward to do the work for which the aforementioned messenger has been sent by God. When this person does come forward, however, this messenger, this avatar, this master of the Aquarian Age, will teach us many important truths, including a greater understanding of what God has known all along. that all of these world religions are simply different paths, and that all of these paths are leading to the same mountaintop. As these paths approach the top of the mountain, of necessity they come closer together, until finally all of these different, so-called different paths must inevitably meet and become a single point at the top, a place where all truth is one and where God is. Information regarding this messenger will be given in greater detail in the session coming up later about the universal Christ. For now, that's enough. So we will close this session and invite you to watch session number 9, where we'll begin with the spiritual aspects of science. Thank you for watching.